Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Geoff Lipman, and I am one of the co-founders of SUNx, the Strong Universal Network, a testimony to someone who was a friend of many, many people in this room tonight, Maurice Strong, and someone who could have been at the UN this week telling people what he told them 50 years ago about the importance of addressing climate change. I'd like to ask Felix Dodds to come up here. He's another co-founder. Felix is a perfect example of what Maurice Strong represented. We met, I think, in 1999 at the Sustainable Development Commission of the UN.
Yeah.
Felix was representing the NGOs, and I was representing the industry side. I had your job, Gloria, in those days as president of the World Travel and Tourism Council, and we were supposed to fight, and through Maurice Strong we became firm friends, and we've, together with other people who you will meet and hear about tonight, we've decided to create this lasting legacy to Maurice Strong. I also want to introduce to all of you some of our special guests. First of all, and most importantly, my friend Gloria Guevara, President and Chief Executive of the World Travel and Tourism Council, who held a stunning event this afternoon and is a strongly committed leader to drive the travel and tourism industry to a carbon neutral future. And next to Gloria is the former President of Mexico, Felipe Calderon. And truly a champion of climate resilience, the honorary chair of the new Climate Economy Commission. If all government leaders were as committed as President Calderon, I think the world would be a much better place. I want to say thank you to the WTTC members who have come along this evening. And also I want to introduce Dirk Forrester, who is the Chief Executive of IETA, the International Emissions Trading Association. And thank you, Dirk, for being so friendly and collaborative. We hadn't known each other before, but it's been a pleasure to work with you and to put this evening together. I think we're now going to start now with a video of Maurice back in 1972, and I think this will give you a flavor of what it means. After we've had this video, I'm going to ask Hannah Strong to come up here, and she probably knew Maurice better than anybody, and she's going to tell us a few things about living with Maurice Strong.
Sounds like a TV series.
Yes. You're not supposed to speak till afterwards. It's okay. I want to tell you two stories before we start the video, and this is, for me, typical of Maurice. The first one concerns a snail walking up a tree, and he gets halfway up and he meets a woodpecker. And the woodpecker says, "Where are you going, snail?" And the snail says, "I'm going to eat the green leaves." And the woodpecker says, "I don't see any green leaves." And the snail says, "They'll be there by the time I get up there." Maurice Strong had enormous long-term vision. And the second story concerns the same snail, and he's walking down a street. You like these kind of stories?
I do, I love them, yeah.
And he walks down the street and he gets mugged by a gang of tortoises. And afterwards the police come along and they say, "Could you kind of describe what happened?" And the snail says, "I don't know, it all happened so quickly." That's the challenge of climate change. Maurice Strong saw that. And I think it was this capacity, three things really, I would say, Felix. One was the capacity to think long-term, decades ahead of other people. Secondly, to see how these loops would create things to happen faster than anybody could even account for. And thirdly, a vision of building institutions. Many of the institutions, and I think you'll have that feeling after this evening, many of the institutions which are now helping us fight climate change, Maurice Strong was the force behind them.